on the record, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Tonight is Wednesday, June 6, 2018. It is 6 p.m., and this is the time and the place for the board, as well as we're joined by our other elected officials up here on the diocese for our public hearings and some administrative items tonight. So for the first time, just first off, a couple of housekeeping items. If I could talk you all into reaching into your cell phones and either muting them or turning them off during the course of tonight while you're in here, I'd appreciate it. We've got a couple of different things going on tonight. The first of which we'll be addressing is the public meeting regarding the master facilities plan. So that'll be the first thing that we're going to go through tonight. Secondly, then we'll take a little bit of a break to get organized, and then we've got some public hearings regarding land use issues. So I want to acknowledge and recognize tonight is our first night of streaming things live on the internet for folks at home who want to start watching, and to welcome those folks who may be out there watching the process tonight. So we've got our fingers crossed and our faith in IT that everything's going to go well.
Steve.
Yeah. I would like to acknowledge up on the diocese to my left is Jan Bennett's our prosecuting attorney, Chris Rich, our clerk of the court, clerk, recorder, election guy. He does pretty much everything. Our sheriff, Steve Bartlett. To my right is Commissioner Jim Tibbs. We have Sherry Morgan, our attorney, joining us up here. She keeps us out of trouble. Well, she tries to. Bob McQuaid, our assessor, and Dottie Owens, our coroner. They're going to be joining us up here tonight as we go through the master facilities plan. Commissioner Visser is out of town. He is unable to join us tonight, and Treasurer Vicki McIntyre has also had a prior engagement, so she's unable to be here. With that, I am going to turn the chair over to Commissioner Tibbs, as he has been the liaison of the board that has been working on this master facilities plan. So I'll turn the chair over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody here. I'm glad to see that there's such a strong interest in the master facilities plan, so thank you all for being here. The process for this particular issue will be, I'm going to make a few comments, then I'm going to turn it over to Mitra, and Mitra is going to make some comments. I think she has a short PowerPoint presentation, and then she'll turn it over to our consultants, and then we will open it up to the public. If they wish to testify, you'll be given 3 minutes. So I will go ahead and make my comments. This particular building, the courthouse, was opened in 2004. There was a plan to build an administrative building in the west or the east parking lot by 2007. Well, that didn't happen. Along came the recession, and there were tax issues where the commission at that time, the Board of Commissioners at that time, chose not to take all of the taxes that they could, trying to give the citizens a break. Ada County's population, as we all know, is growing rapidly. We've had 80,000 new residents since 2013. We're way ahead of schedule. Normally, we've been experiencing 100,000 per decade, so we're just a little bit ahead of schedule. When Commissioner Case and I were elected into office, our first 2 years in office spent correcting the poor financial situation of Ada County. Specifically, the revenue didn't match the expenses. Our corrections brought that all into balance. We spent the better part of 2 years developing Ada County 2025. That's our strategic plan and business plan. It involved significant public input, multiple focus group meetings. It was an effort to create a collective vision for Ada County. We heard widespread requests for preserving open spaces, agricultural land, public safety, business efficiencies, and smart planning, including the development of a master facilities plan. The thousands of new residents have created an increased demand on existing services, and most of those services are mandated by the Idaho Constitution and/or state law. 1 year ago, we assembled a team to begin assessing our facility and personnel needs for Ada County services and programs, and that included the courthouse, juvenile detention center, the morgue, and all of the other departments and elected offices. All of our elected officials had a seat at the table and shared their needs. Tonight, we're finally at a point where we can share with the public an honest assessment of our current situation. As a result of this collective effort, we feel this plan will help us and the future leaders meet our obligations and serve a populace that approaches 500,000 residents now and is expected to nearly double over the next 2 decades. Tonight, we will not be making any decisions. Let me say that again. We're not going to be making any decisions. The presentations are meant to be for educational purposes only. In closing, I believe that we, as a board and the other elected officials, we feel strongly about this, and we would be derelict in our duties if we didn't plan for the future. So that's my opening comments. Mitra, there you are. Before you start, I really want to thank our consultants. Development Services in Ada County has taken the lead on this particular project, and we really appreciate the hard work that you put into it. So, Mitra?
Thank you, Commissioner Tibbs, Mr. Chairman, elected officials. On behalf of Meg Leatherman and the rest of the project team, I want to thank all of you for allowing us to lead this tremendous collaborative project of Ada County. This has been truly an honor. For housekeeping purposes, we have made some copies of the master facilities plan and provided that in the back of the room. For those of you who have access to internet, we also have those available on the internet, and the link is on the screen if you are interested. So Ada County Commissioners are required to provide a wide variety of public services and facilities as mandated by the Constitution and Idaho State Code Title 31. What I didn't realize when I started working on this project was the magnitude of this statement. On one hand, they provide support to the 4th District Court, which actually spans more than Ada County into Elmore, Valley, and Boise counties. And prosecuting attorneys, defenders, clerk, all TCA staff, all of it is part of their governance. Also part of their governance is the sheriff, the coroner, the landfill, the assessors, the development services, juvenile services, and so on and so forth. So in other words, we provide a lot of services that many people are not really aware of. Just to provide a little bit of background on Ada County. Ada County covers around 1,055 square miles in southwestern Idaho. Ada County is the most populous county of the state, with almost 400,000 residents in 2013. This is, if you are keeping up with the newspapers lately, this is the fastest growing region in the country, with population expected to be 540,000 in 2025 and 675,000 in 2040. If you talk to Compass staff, you will realize that these are actually underestimated number compared to what we are actually experiencing today. Ada County's government comprises of the Board of County Commissioners, the 3 commissioners that you have. In addition to that, we have 6 other elected officials: assessor, clerk of the court, coroner, prosecutor, sheriff, and treasurer. We have 11 departments and 1826 employees. When we started working on this project, we had 1727 employees, which means that the number of employees have just within the 10 to 12 months have increased by almost 100 employees. County facilities and employees are located at 32 locations, which I did not have a clue when I started working here. County office buildings total more than 1.2 million square feet throughout the county. This map shows all those 32 locations where we are located. Now this is, when you look at various buildings of these 32 locations, they vary quite significantly. Some of them are newer and provide good services for its outside customers as well as employees that use them, like employee break rooms or decent spaces to gather public gatherings. But others not so much. Um, we have some buildings that are fairly old, built in 60s or 70s, and have really poor lighting and have been retrofitted many times for various uses. In this particular picture, you can see staff actually sitting between the storage space, and that's just the reality of our operations today. Um, this picture, you can see some of the long lines that the residents of Ada County may have experienced at driver's license, and that is due to the lack of space we have at that location. I particularly like this picture because it shows a list of uses or functions at one particular location, Benjamin campus. And if you look at it carefully, not all uses on this list are compatible with each other. And if you have visited this site, you would have noticed that we have come up with some really creative solutions to separate those incompatible uses from each other. And that really requires quite creative leadership on county's behalf. This is an example of how sometimes our departments and offices are not able to meet their functional need. This is a picture of a corner facility that when she did not have adequate storage space, she had to hire a freezer from disaster management on temporary basis. So we come up with the solutions to meet the needs of the county and to meet the law and regulations we are required to meet. But the county does realize the need for a master facilities plan. As Commissioner Tibbs mentioned, when we conducted the public outreach for comprehensive plan in 2016 and 17, those extensive outreach efforts showed us that we needed to continue to provide fair, efficient, and professional county services in the future. The strategic business plan that Commissioner Tibbs referred to also talks about maintaining the quality of life that draws people to this valley. Over the last few years, the capital investment program discussions have been dominated by need for a master facilities plan in Ada County. Prior to then, a juvenile master plan was developed in 2014, a jail master plan that looked at the entire public safety complex that sheriff occupies in 2009. And then, as Commissioner Tibbs mentioned, the courthouse corridor plan actually had the thought of moving all the county administrative functions out of this building in 2006 and 7 timeframe. So this master facilities plan that you have in front of you today really takes into account all the efforts that have gone into county's facilities planning so far. And really, it provides a facilities guidebook for potential future capital investments and decisions so that we can continue to provide the wonderful public services that we have provided in Ada County up to this point. The board allocated funding for development of this master facilities plan in fiscal year 17 through capital investment program. And development services was asked to take a lead on this project in spring of 2017. We immediately recognized that this project has impacts far reaching beyond development services understanding, and we recognize that this needs to be a truly collaborative process as we develop this project. So as we got ready to hire a consultant through an RFQ process, we asked some of these wonderful people in the audience today to sit on that RFQ selection committee, and I think Chris Rich, Larry Rayner, Scott Williams, Ted Argyle, some of the people that are in the Bob McQuaid, some of the people that are sitting in the audience today were part of that selection process. As a result of that, we hired Insight Architects, a local architectural firm led by Russ Phillips, and in collaboration with NBBJ, a Seattle-based firm that has tremendous experience nationwide in doing facilities planning work. We also realized that the staff and the consultants cannot develop this project in a void. So we requested the board to establish a leadership team that would provide us the policy guidance needed to shape this project as we go through this. And they met on 6 different occasions in what we call charrettes. These are really 3-hour workshops, working sessions where we all sit around a table and talk about issues that they are facing and how we can address them in the master facilities plan. So in the leadership charrette, we talked about what should be the scope of this project and what is the vision for Ada County in the future. What is the part of this master facilities plan? In data charrette, we came back and worked with each department and office to identify what are their existing needs and operations at which locations, and what are their future needs according to them in their perspective. In the program charrette, we started defining the scope of the project more closely. We recognized that not all 32 locations needed help in the master facilities plan. Some of them were fairly standalone, like some of the EMS sites. They really did not need a lot of work except some ongoing operation and maintenance kind of work. But the ones that stood out were 7 priority complexes, and those are the ones that are part of the master facilities plan. In the scenario charrette, the consultants came up with various scenarios for all 7 priority complexes and discussed it with the county's leadership. This was very interesting meeting because now the real future for facilities planning was coming into reality. And we had a fairly interesting, heated meeting in scenario charrette, which was followed up by an evaluation charrette where we actually looked at, okay, now we have these scenarios in front of us for all these complexes. How can we evaluate them against each other so we can select the best one that is preferred by the county in the future? So in the evaluation charrette, the consultants came back with a list of evaluation criteria and that were more qualitative in nature, like what is the short-term and long-term gain from this particular option versus what are the operational challenges in implementing this option. And they discussed it with the leadership team, and the leadership team also provided quite a good feedback in terms of what should be the evaluation criteria and which of the 7 complexes should get priorities was also discussed in that meeting. And then in the final recommendations charrettes, the consultants came up with some rough cost estimates as well as the evaluation of various scenarios and presented it to the group. And then again, those got modified, tweaked a little bit. And then what came out is in front of you today that they are going to be presenting in a few minutes. Before I hand over this presentation to consultants, I wanted to reinforce one thing that I think was part of the staff report. The master facilities plan is a policy guidance for future facilities needs and rough cost estimates. These are not capital decisions. These recommendations of the master facilities plan will be reviewed further as part of the capital investment program annually, and then allocated funds accordingly. All master facilities plan recommendations, including cost estimates, will go through and be revised during the CIP process at 2 different occasions, as we can see it today. Phase 1 is the preliminary design and funding and financing work for that particular project, and phase 2, when the construction drawing, schedule, and work will be completed. So these recommendations that you'll see today will be revised 2 more times before we will have actually built a building that is envisioned in this project. And that concludes staff's presentation. At this point in time, I would like to invite the consulting team, and I believe Kim Selby from NBBJ is going to be taking that part of the presentation.
Thank you, Mitra. Please proceed.
Good evening. Thank you for your time this evening. What we're going to do tonight is provide you an overview of the process and highlight the recommended projects, priorities, and policies that came out of this, as well as how you might go about implementing this as you move forward. As Mitra outlined, we have been at it since last summer. This graphic was the process that guided us through the roughly 12 to 15-month effort. There were 4 phases that have been completed. As you see here, we had a number of charrettes, and then we presented to the board to provide updates along the way. We have concluded the recommendation phase and are now embarking on implementation and providing you continued support as you look at how you might go about doing the projects that came out of the Master Facilities Plan. One of our key findings very early on as we toured your facilities was just the variety of space that your complexes provide, not only within a single building, but across your different complexes or county campuses. So everything from your standard office and conferencing space to training rooms, public counter, public interaction spaces, a wide array of services, as Mitra mentioned, and then your special purpose spaces, such as your detention centers, your courtrooms, coroner's office, that are just very unique to that actual service. Your complexes are short space today. If you think about how the inside of the building, your usable space, architects, planners consider that departmental gross square feet. So the usable space really is somewhere around 860,000 square feet across all your complexes. That translates into the 1.2 million building gross square feet, and that includes your outside walls, the stairs, restrooms, corridors, those spaces that are certainly make a building function, but aren't places where you'd put staff or expect people to work on a daily basis. By 2025, in order to correct your current space shortages and plan for both existing and near-term staffing needs, that need is looking at 1.1 million departmental gross square feet, so even more than just your buildings as you have today. We would never recommend that you only look 5-7 years out as you design and construct new buildings. So long-term view, a 2040 view, that demand continues to grow along with your population. And in order to maintain levels of service, provide sufficient space for staff to operate safely and efficiently, provide good customer service for the residents of Ada County, that need continues to grow to approximately 1.4 million departmental gross square feet. We've talked a lot about the projected needs. The Compass looks at how the population is growing. These 2 maps are just showing the northern section of the county. The darker green census tracts are just showing more population. So light green is less population, dark green is the higher. And then your facilities are located there in the Treasure Valley and largely where the population is concentrated. But this just starts looking at not only where are your people today, but where are residents likely to live in the future. And so we wanted to make sure as we looked at recommendations that your facilities were in the right places to accommodate where your customers are located. There are a number of projects that the Master Facilities Plan recommends, particularly at your priority complexes, and we'll go over those briefly here because they're detailed in the Master Facilities Plan report. But again, those priority complexes, the Public Safety Complex at Barrister, this complex, the Courthouse Civic Plaza Complex, and the multiple buildings at this location, the Coroner's Office, also known as Morris Hill, Juvenile Court Services at the Boise location, Benjamin Complex, which Mitra showed the directory sign earlier, Faces Complex here in downtown, and the Meridian Complex. This is an example of a test of fit where we were looking at the Public Safety Complex. So your priorities here are providing additional detention beds and support for those in detention. There's overcrowding, there's need for support services. In addition, there's need for administrative offices for the sheriff's office due to increased staffing needs and just replacement of aging facilities as well as ordering those phasing. So of course you need to operate this facility as you grow and replace and renovate the buildings. So looking at can you do it within the existing confines or testing if additional property was necessary. So we looked at multiple sites and how that might impact those priorities. Siting, programming, the order of magnitude or big picture estimate of space would all be further refined in phase 1. At the Courthouse Civic Plaza Complex, the key issues here are parking structure. Parking on this campus is a challenge, as most of us have experienced. So addressing your current campus needs, but also as you look at building that long-awaited administration building, that takes away some of your surface parking that you have today. So being able to replace those parking stalls before you even build the administration building. That new facility would allow you to move the non-court functions out of this facility to accommodate increased staffing needs and those departments that are not court-related, and allow campus building replacement on the site. That would also further involve, once you move folks out of this building, as in the courthouse, you could renovate the courthouse to accommodate the growing caseloads that are being experienced again because of population growth. At the coroner's office, this is an example site that was tested. Really, you need a purpose-built coroner's office. The existing facility is not suitable for meeting today's needs, let alone projected growth or future needs for Ada County. So you need a purpose-built structure or purpose-renovated structure that's designed to industry standards and size for county needs. That would include office space that has daylight and adequate access, both internally and externally. It would address security and privacy needs for decedents, and public spaces that are adequate for the public that come into this building. We would also recommend that you maintain the autopsy suite portion of the existing Morris Hill site for emergency purposes. You can use that building for another county function in the interim, but your autopsy suite could be used for emergencies in case something dire happens locally. Juvenile court services in Boise. I want to emphasize we are not recommending that any new juvenile detention beds. You do not need additional juvenile detention beds. What you do need for juvenile court services is potentially another courtroom or replacement courtrooms, as well as the opportunity to consolidate your juvenile support staff, support services, probation, and program staff. So those county employees who are supporting Ada County youth are currently in multiple locations. They would benefit greatly by being in one facility, and that would move them out of the Benjamin complex and put them in one spot. So you have an opportunity here to build a parking structure on the property you own across the street in order to build a standalone or adjacent building on the existing campus property east of Liberty, allowing you to build courtrooms for those juvenile court caseloads and provide those administrative support staff and classroom needs for juvenile services. There are minor renovations that we have recommended to the detention facility itself, including, in this particular instance, you would demolish a portion of the older section of the building, so you would need a new facade, of course, on the remaining detention building, and an opportunity to expand the existing gymnasium. The Benjamin complex, once you start moving out some of those existing tenants, internal renovations would accommodate fewer county departments or offices and allow for growth within and or just better services. So you see here recommended floor plans, the site plans just for reference. This is allowed to happen if you do some of the prior projects that we mentioned, reduce existing conflicts that are happening on site, and it would improve the significant parking demand that is occurring right now at Benjamin. The Faces complex here, you see it just in the middle of the screen. It's just a few blocks to the west, southwest of the county courthouse campus. The main issue here is that there's parking needs for the clients who come to Faces. There's just not enough on-site parking. So victims are coming and needing services, needing help, and having to struggle to find parking. So we recommend that you identify an operational solution to address those parking needs in the near term. Long term, it may be appropriate to consider a new larger location. Again, your population's growing, so the corollary would be that service demands for Faces would also increase. And there's a potential that the sale of this existing half-block property could have offset other costs associated with a replacement facility. Either way, just looking at the long-term needs and making sure you can continue to provide those much-needed services. The Meridian Complex, really, it was a priority campus starting out, but there are really only small projects that we were recommending. Potential minor expansions for which the building was designed, a surface parking lot for visitors outside the fence, the security fence, potential future expansion of the data center, again, that was designed into the building. And there's a surface parking lot just immediately south of this aerial photo that warrants paving. We also identified a number of policy recommendations that we suggest to Ada County, assigning capital improvement, I should say program, to strategic planning staff within Ada County Department of Development Services. I believe that's already transitioning. Conduct the phase 1 planning for all projects of a certain size, so we suggested 5,000 square feet or larger. Developing on-call rosters for 2 service issues. One is real estate professionals. Right now, development services and/or operations, well, staff are often tasked with having to find property, whether built property to lease, land to develop. That's not really in their day job description. So you'd be better suited if you had professionals trained and doing that for you on an on-call as needed basis. The roster for legal counsel, again, there are ways to fund and finance these projects, so we would recommend there may be opportunity for legal counsel beyond your existing county staff to take on that need and advise you as needed and on call. Lastly, you do have a transformation board that is a remarkable improvement to the ad hoc space needs and a comparison of apples and oranges at times, but it helps alleviate the comparison of different projects. We would just recommend that you document and clarify the process, the policies, membership, responsibilities of that transformation board. It was a little unclear to us when we first started, and it remains so, but it is a good opportunity to just document and add transparency to Ada County government. There is a long list of potential funding and financing sources that would help you implement this long list of projects. We're not recommending you do any of these projects or all at once. It's definitely a phased guidance. And so you need to consider a wide variety of funding and financing sources, everything from general funds and your construction savings account to development impact fees, public-private partnerships, looking at potentially, are there properties that you might need to sell in order to finance other projects and or the lease of existing or new space. In general, owning the space that you use is the advisable financial plan for your capital facilities, but sometimes immediate needs pop up and short-term leases may be warranted. From this point further, again, we're going into the implementation phase and providing support to development services in order to help you move this from a document into action. And we are happy at this time to turn it back to staff and for any questions you might have.
Thank you. For Mitra and for our consultants, we're going to open it up now for public testimony. If you take notes in case there's a question or, that you can answer. I only have one testimony slip. Stacy Sundquist. And Stacy, would you state your name and your address for the record, please, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Stacy Sundquist, and up until recently I resided in Eagle, Idaho. I have currently had to move to Seattle, Washington for a job. Do you want that address?
That's not necessary.
I am here today because I want to support the Ada County Coroner's Office in their request to have tax dollar support to build a new facility that would be family-centered in design and address not only the space-needed issues, but also to enhance humanity towards survivors of deceased. I am here today in support of their goal. I wonder if all of you might think about an experience you've had with losing a loved one. I wonder what your thoughts would be if you never had a chance to hold that loved one in your arms one last time. I am a registered nurse, and I've been in healthcare for 35 years. I have witnessed the pain and suffering of death and family grief countless times. I feel proud to have worked in places where families are allowed to stay with their loved one after death and hold them, talk to them, bathe them, or dress them. Working in hospitals like this has shown me the value of dignity, respect, and compassion during people's darkest hours. I have watched and heard thank yous from countless families who were offered those last intimate moments, moments that make a significant impact on the mind and spirit of the survivors. I am a mom of 4 boys. I have been so for 29 years and will be for eternity. All 4 were raised here in this community. 3 still live here. Jacob, my 4th child, who is the second born, was born here and died here. Jacob was 24 when he was in a tragic car accident and ultimately lost his life. Jacob was sweet, funny, kind, caring, compassionate. He was a young man who was so excited because he had just been promoted into management. He was a mentor to many. He was a dedicated employee. He was everything to his brothers, a friend, a confidant, and a father-like figure. He was a beloved grandson, nephew, cousin, friend, and he was one of my greatest loves, my son Jacob. Things maybe people don't know. If you die less than 24 hours after entering the hospital, a coroner is automatically involved. If you die in the ER, your body is taken to the coroner's office as soon as possible, so there's room for other patients. In our case, this occurred before any official could let me know that my son had passed away. Also, once the deceased is moved to the coroner facility, the family is not able to see, touch, or hold their loved one because the current facility structure does not have the space or setup to make this happen in a safe and reasonable manner. It was explained to me that Jacob was already at the coroner's office, and for those reasons, I would not be able to see him. I was encouraged to pick a funeral home where this could then happen. So I've been told my son has passed away. I do not get to see him. I have to tell all of my family that lives here, my parents, my brother, my children, my Jacob's father, everyone, that Jacob's gone. And I still have to make arrangements to get to the funeral home. When I got to the funeral home, I do not know the constraints that a funeral home operates under. But I do know the experience that I had, and the experience that I had was that they wanted to sell me coffins or urns. They wanted to sell me products on how to have a funeral. I had to ask them repeatedly if I could see my son. And because I am an insistent person, I believe is the only reason that I was allowed to see him. I think someone that was not so confident in themselves when it comes to facing death, that would not have happened. I was not allowed to see him at that time. I was told that if I came back later in the day, late afternoon, then they would allow for me to see him. So I saw my son many, many, many hours after I was told that he had passed away. When I got there, there was no chair for me to sit in, which we typically don't put there unless we're encouraging somebody to spend some time. My son was on a platform so that he was at waist level, and I was told not to remove the blanket that was covering him. The only thing I could see was his left hand. I can tell you that for all the times that I held that hand when he was falling asleep as a young child, when I walked him across the street, when I held his hand when we had fun as he grew, and when I held his hand as we went through trials, as you do in life, I knew that hand better than I knew my own, and it was my son. But that was it. That was all I got. And you've seen it on movies. I've never experienced it until then. I fell to my knees, struck with the grief of not being able to hold my child, not being able to say goodbye, not being able to feel like he was mine. There was no control. I saw my son again 3 days later. For the first time since I had been told he was dead, could I see his face. He was beautiful. He was at rest. His look of peace was something that I wished that I had in my mind and in my spirit and in all the days since. I missed that opportunity to hold him, to have that last connection that honestly is for the survivor. You know, it's not for the deceased. They can look down on us. They can walk through the rest of our lives with us, but it's us survivors that have to live with it. And I would love to see a facility that was designed that had enough room for all of the people that come in. I would love to see a facility that has the intent of some family-centeredness, where you could have individual rooms that family can spend time with their lost one immediately for a little bit of relief. It's not closure. I don't know if there's ever closure with death, especially untimely, unanticipated death. But it gives you that feeling that there's something in this world right now you can hold on to. And there's this child that, in my situation, that I couldn't be his mother. And that's all I've ever wanted to be. So I do look forward to people saying yes to this. I've talked with Dottie. I've talked with all of her staff. They were very welcoming to hearing my story and reaching out to me to be here today. They have such compassion, and they have such wonderful intent, and they have such a hard job. And this would help. This would help them, and it would help all of the survivors. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. I don't have any other folks signed up to testify. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to testify? Okay. Mr. Chairman, did you have any closing remarks?
Well, thank you for that testimony. Very moving. You know, what you see before you today, it's been mentioned earlier. This is a kind of a blueprint. It's a plan moving forward. There hasn't been any decisions as far as, you know, are we approving this plan today? No, that is going to probably be at a later date. So there won't be any decisions today, but, you know, not just for this board, for future boards, this gives everybody an idea of what our needs, or what the county's needs are out there. They truly are needs. Our county is growing. We're kind of behind the 8 ball right now already. We've got facilities where we've got inmates who are sleeping on the floors over at the jail. We've got obviously Dottie's situation over at the coroner's office. The courts are getting jam-packed here, and you just can't ignore the needs. As the county grows, as you know, our population increases, that need is only going to increase more. I know if you look at this plan in the whole of it, it looks huge. There's a lot of demand out there. There's a lot of expenses. The costs are only going to go up. So just having the community support to be able to look at this and realize that, you know, if you don't want to stand in a DMV line to get your driver's license for 3 hours or 2 hours, and those you have to pay for those costs. So there are things that it doesn't matter who's sitting in these chairs. The way the county government is formed, we are mandated by the Constitution and by statute to provide certain services. Public safety is one of those, and that's not anything you can ignore. If you ignore it, pretty soon you have federal judges telling you what you're going to do, and then there is no choice, and then it gets forced upon folks. So basically, the plan is to try to get ahead of that, or at least catch up to it. And again, we've identified things. Those are going to be decisions through the capital improvement plan. This master facilities plan does take into account all of the needs at this point, but it's the decision of the elected officials as they move forward, taking a look at this plan on how to implement it. And I want to thank all of our elected officials sitting up the dais, because it has been them. They've been extremely supportive. Everybody, a combined effort in seeing the needs, and all of us coming together and trying to figure out how we're going to attack those needs and solve them. And anyway, I want to thank everybody for all of their hard work. This has been a long process coming together, and I know there's been a lot of long, tedious meetings. I can tell you that I haven't been a part of those. I delegated that to Commissioner Tibbs. So some of this stuff I'm seeing for the first time, but again, it's been this group, and it's your county employees, it's your elected officials who's gotten together and worked very hard to come up with a plan moving forward. I look forward, as I sit on the sidelines, to watching how our county progresses in the future and how it meets these challenges. So that is all I have to say, Commissioner Tibbs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also would like to thank everybody that came tonight. Special thanks to our consultants, Meg Leatherman and Mitra. You carried the banner high, and to our elected officials, thank you very much. This has been a real team effort, and Commissioner Case has been a very big part of that. He doesn't like to admit it. Of course, I'm much older now that I've participated in those meetings. And so this brings us to the end of the presentations for the master facility plan. So we're for those of you that came just for that, and there's other land use business that we'll be picking up here just shortly after a brief recess to reorganize. And in the words of a highly respected law enforcement official, the best sheriff in the state of Idaho, you're free to go.
And pause the tape and get prepared for the next. Thank you all. Thank you. Back on the record, again, it is Wednesday, June 6, 2018. The time now is about 6:56 PM. We want to thank you for taking the time and sitting through that plan, because I know you all have got some business here tonight. So our first order of business is unfinished business. I'll need a motion to remove that from the table for consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I move to remove the unfinished business from the table for consideration.
I'll second the motion. Any discussion?
No, sir.
All those in favor state aye.
Aye?
Aye, 2 ayes, that motion passes. We will now take up application number 2017-0250-ZC-DA-CU-MSP, Cook Christian. I'll go to staff. Any additional information we need to be aware of? I think you were doing some revised findings of facts on this one.
Mr. Chairman, I did revise the findings of facts to coincide with the denial of the application, and those are before you tonight.
Okay, and as I recall, we had closed the public testimony and closed the record on that, correct?
Mr. Chairman, that is correct.
Okay, we're now in order for a motion regarding that.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the revised findings of fact for application number 201-702-507-ZC-DA-CU-MSP, Cook Christian.
Anything else? We good there? That's what you need for your motion?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll second that motion. Any discussion on the motion?
No, sir.
Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye?
Aye, 2 ayes, that motion passes. We will now go down to our new business, item 6 on the agenda, number 1. This is application number 2018-00656-V. This is for Mays Blake. I believe it's Blake Mays, but this is for an application for a variance. I'm going to open up the public hearing at 6:58 PM, and we'll get a report from staff first.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add exhibit number 17, which is the sign posting certification, into the record. You received a copy, and there is a copy on the back table for anyone that would like that. The applicant is asking for a variance for a covered porch that would encroach into the front setback. This porch was constructed without any building permits. They are able to request that variance. However, there are three findings that we have to make for a variance. The variance shall not grant a right or special privilege that's not otherwise allowed in the base district. The variance relieves an undue hardship due to the characteristics of the site, and the variance shall not be detrimental to the public health and safety and welfare. The 30-foot setback is required in the front within an RUT district. The existing residence was in compliance with the setback until the porch was added recently. They do have the ability to move that 5-foot porch to this side of the house, to the southern side of the house. And that way they would meet the setback. There's not really an issue of what the characteristics of the site, and it does give him a special right that it doesn't anyone else in that district. So staff is recommending denial of the variance, and I'll stand for any questions.
Okay, any questions?
Not at this time.
You know, just one for me, Diana. Regarding it's a 30-foot setback. How far into the setback has it encroached? Is it 5 feet? Is that what you said?
That is correct, 5 feet.
And is that what the size of the entire porch is 5 feet?
Yes, it is, sir.
Okay. Is the applicant present? Yes. Okay, sir, come on up. We'll give you up to 20 minutes to present your project. You don't have to use all 20 minutes, but that's totally up to you. I'll need you to state your name and address for the record, and then the floor is yours.
Sure. So my name is Blake Mays, and my address is 1500 South McDermott in Nampa, Idaho.
Okay, go ahead.
So I won't take 20 minutes. So I just I'm going to read part of this, and then I'll elaborate as I go through it. But last fall, late fall 2017, I was searching for a home for myself and my elderly parents who now need to live with me or live near me. I found a property at 1500 and 1580 South McDermott. It was a foreclosure, had been severely vandalized, needed a lot of work, was in very bad disrepair, but the property had 2 houses on it, which worked very well for myself and my parents. So I did purchase the property. Prior to purchasing it, I did all the due diligence that I would normally do, that I could think of. I had inspections, I did a title report, I reviewed previous property disclosures, and I even spoke to the assessor's office about the property. Everything looked good, so we purchased the property with my parents, and they were to move in to 1580, which was the smaller of the 2 houses, and I would live in 1500. The very first thing I did was I built a 6-foot cedar fence around the property, and I bought a shed from Old Hickory Sheds, and then began the cleanup on the property and the repairs that needed done. Ada County website that I did access stated that I did not need a permit for the fence, but I did for the shed. I spoke with Ada County, and they said that all I needed for the shed permit was an accessory use authorization from Central District Health, which I had performed, and I have a copy if you need it. Once that was done, I went in to purchase the permit from Ada County, and I was told that my property was flagged in their system, and they could not issue a permit for the shed, and I would be contacted by a planner. I later received a call, I think the next day, from Diana Sanders, that my parents' house, which was built in 1971, before I was even alive, was done without a permit, and therefore they could not live there. And she told me that I was required to remove the kitchen, tear into the walls, remove the plumbing, remove all of the electrical, then put the walls back, and turn the house into an accessory use dwelling. And because of the land use code, it was not allowed to be occupied by anybody, so including my parents who were expecting to live there. I explained to her that I was being taxed by Ada County for having 2 houses, and all the due diligence I had done, and that the house shows on the Ada County Assessor's website as 2 houses. I was told that it didn't matter that the house was built in 1971 without a permit, and I had to comply. I made a request, what if I just left it alone and didn't do anything? I was told that their remedy would be that they would turn it over to the prosecuting attorney and I could be charged criminally. Very scary. I requested to find out why for 48 previous years no one else had been charged criminally, but the minute I buy the house, I have to do that. Never did get a response, so I made the decision to comply. I spent $3,000 removing the kitchen, all the plumbing, all the electrical, put the sheetrock back up, had it re-inspected, and my parents' house was turned into an accessory dwelling, which is now vacant and just has boxes in it. I relocated my parents, and I'm currently paying rent on an apartment for them. I then learned that my 6-foot feeder fence was not in compliance and needed to be torn down. I explained to them that the website clearly shows that I can have a 6-foot cedar fence without a permit. They said that because I was in the area of impact, I could not have the fence. It had to be a 3-foot fence. I explained that I have horses who would simply step over the top, and since I'm on Overland and McDermott, it was dangerous. Everyone else around me, including new construction and a subdivision, has 6-foot fences right up to the road. But I was told if I did not take it down, the matter would be turned over to the Ada County Sheriff's Department. So I tore the fence down that I had just spent $4,000 for, got rid of my horse, and installed a 3-foot fence for another $2,000. Within 2 hours of my parents' house being turned into an accessory dwelling, I received another call from Diana Sanders telling me that my personal home that I lived in was out of compliance, that they believed in 2014, in that range, that the porch was added and then enclosed without approval, and I would have to buy a permit I would have to permit that area. In addition, they told me that there was now a 30-foot setback, and they believed that my house was 5 foot into that setback, and I would need to tear that portion down or get a variance. So I received another call from Mark Fern at the Ada County Building. He was the Ada County Building official, telling me that I would need to permit that section that was enclosed. I met with him and I agreed to go through the permitting process. He told me to first get a hold of the state of Idaho electrical department to begin permitting it. I spoke with Martin Langenwalter, I believe his name. He came out and he told me that his assessment was that the Porch was probably done somewhere around 2014 based on the type of electricity was in there. He gave me a list of what I had to have done to permit it, and I hired Tri-State Electrical to do approximately $1,000 worth of work. Martin came back out, and the state of Idaho did issue the permit for the electricity. So I'm being told by Ada County Development Services that I need to tear down that section or get a variance, or I'm out of compliance, and I'm being told by the Ada County building official that I need to spend money to permit it, or that would be turned over to the sheriff's department. If you make the assumption that my house, the back of my property, is the correct property line, which I'm not sure it is, it's, I don't know, 50, 60 years old, and you measure forward, they are correct. I am 25 feet from the road. But it still sits behind my garage, and it sits behind my well house. I'm the third building back. So I spent 2 days trying to find the property pins at the property, and I was not able to. So I went to ACHD to ask them if they knew of my property lines, and they said they had a map. They provided me the map, which I have copies of if you need, which clearly shows that my house is, my property line is 10.8 feet from the road, which means that it's not within the 30-foot setback. I provided this to Ada County Development Services, and they told me that they did not agree with those maps, and I would need to pay for a survey, and if the property showed that it was even an inch into this 30-foot, we would be here anyway. The survey was $3,500, and I chose not to do that and to just request this variance. I've already spent over $12,000 coming to compliance so far with Ada County. I made a formal request to Development Services to allow me to place my shed on the property because I was complying in every way with what they were asking of me. I was told no, so I lost my $2,000 deposit. Never did get my shed on the property. Ada County reports say that what we just heard was that the front 5 feet we're talking about is where my front door is, and that I can relocate it to the south of the property. And I believe the reason they're saying that is because they've never been to the property, because your report shows that my house is 3,800 square feet. My house is 1,200 square feet. It's a very small house. The south side of my property is where my kitchen is. There's no way to relocate my front door to the south side of my property unless I tear out the kitchen, which is, I've already done one of those on this property. And so I don't believe it grants any kind of special request. I bought this property in good faith. I did all my due diligence. I did everything that I could, and everything they've asked of me, I've complied. This would literally require me to tear down part of my house. It makes absolutely no sense. ACHD maps that I have, and I believe you have them, show that I'm not within the 30-foot setback. And we also have a letter from ACHD that they have no objection to the variance being granted. There's also a letter from Mark Fern, the Ada County building official, that he has no objection to the variance being granted. I've had multiple neighbors stop by my house, show up at the property, write me letters, thanking me for cleaning up the property, thanking me for adding value to the neighborhood. Today I've spent $12,000 complying with requests from Ada County. One question I had is why they never recorded anything on the property. This is a 48-year-old issue. They literally could have walked downstairs and recorded something, which would have put the general public on notice. It would have showed up in a title report. They said they were not required to do that, which I think is unfortunate because we wouldn't be here had they done that. They had 48 years to do it. I would not have bought the property. It would not have worked for my family. But now I'm in a position that I can't sell the property. I would have to disclose, and I can't just dump the problem on somebody else. So I'm doing everything I can do to bring in compliance and to get done what I guess needs done. I am paying rent on for my parents now, and with a vacant house next door to me. I'm paying for the sins of other people. This property is a foreclosure. I did everything I needed to do to make it happen. Nothing was recorded that there was a problem. The house next door, which is supposed to be for my elderly parents, they're telling me for 48 years it's been out of compliance. I requested to find out how many other people had been turned over to the prosecuting attorney and had been charged criminally for this for the last 48 years, and my understanding is that no one has. But within 2 months, I was told of me, and I had to comply or have it turned over to the prosecuting attorney. So I did comply. So I just want to say in closing that I've suffered extensive financial damage, emotional, my parents have. This has been a nightmare since we got it. I literally wanted to walk away and just sell it. I knew that that was not the right thing to do to somebody else. I've gone into a neighborhood, cleaned up the property, added value, the neighbors love it. So I want to go home tonight and then for the first time since I bought the house, enjoy it and not have this rattling in my mind and not being told I have to tear down part of my house and relocate it and then tear down my kitchen to put the front. It makes no sense. I have done everything asked of me, but I think that this is excessive, and so I ask you for the variance so that I can have the quiet enjoyment of my own home. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
All right, do I leave or do I stay?
Why don't you stand there? I'm gonna ask staff a question if I could. They make sure I understand this fully, that, you know, the setback setback that we're talking about, it's in the front. Is it in the back?
It is in the front.
Okay.
So do you have that ACHD map that he's talking about that has, that ACHD says he's not in the?
I do have it if you guys need it.
Exhibit 3. And what,
Did you get a good deal on the property?
I thought I did.
I mean, before all this?
Before all this, I thought I did. There was, I mean, I knew we were gonna be having to do a lot of work, and it was in horrible disrepair. You know, and I really thought about buying a new house, and I thought about building something, but it made sense to buy something that needed some love and some care, and we knew we could fix it up. My parents were extremely excited about it, and their feet away from me is another house. I mean, it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house that now is vacant, and I had to rip out the kitchen, rip out the walls, remove the plumbing. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I understand that they tell me that you can't have it's not, the land use code, I guess, doesn't allow 2 homes, but they've been there for 49 years or 48 years. But I complied, and now it's just sitting there vacant. But I think that this is really difficult for me to swallow, to tear down the front. It sounds insignificant. It's 5 by 10, it's 50 square feet, but it is significant. There is no way to relocate it. My house is not some big 3,800 square foot house, which is what you guys have on your sheet. It's 1,200 square feet. It just doesn't, there's nowhere else to put it, aside from the expense. And let me just also say, at my neighborhood meeting, nobody objected. I got letters thanking me that they said this had been an eyesore, it had been ongoing, had criminal activity, had been broken into, windows shattered. I mean, we've just gone through everything in this neighborhood to make it look good, and it does. It looks great.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
have you contacted the assessor on the square footage issue?
Yes, I did. I've contacted the assessor many times because after I was turned into an accessory dwelling, I went to the assessor and explained to them what had happened, and they are not in agreement. I'm still being taxed for 2 houses. And so on the Ada County Assessor's Office, it shows my square footage, I think, at 1,180. I measured it yesterday. It's 1,200, I think, in that range. The accessory unit is 980. And I call it the other house, they're calling it the accessory dwelling. You guys show, I think they have it under as 1,300. So those numbers don't jive. I'm not really sure where they came from, but the assessor's office is pretty close. But to make your point, yes, to this day, it still shows I have 2 houses. The accessory unit, the other house, is assessed at $82,000. And now no one gets to live there. So it's just, it's been a nightmare. And I'm hoping you will take care of that for me tonight. At least the 5 feet.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You'll have final rebuttal in case there's any other questions, so take some notes if you need to. Anything further from staff?
Mr. Chairman, the map from ACHD is exhibit number 3, and I do have it up on the
Okay.
screen.
So, what's that telling me? Yeah, you might come on up and explain, sir, if you would, please.
So you're seeing, this map is the red, and it says approximately 10.68. They're saying 10.68, this is ACHD, 10.68 feet from the road to my property line. If that map is accurate, which ACHD says it is, I'm not within the 30 feet. That means my back fence or something is wrong where you're measuring from. But when I sent this to Ada County, they said that they have a different number, and that even if I did a survey and it was even an inch over, we would be here tonight anyway. Only difference, I would have spent $3,500 more on a survey. So it made the most sense to just request the variance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anything else, Diana? Okay, Jim, any questions?
No, sir.
Sir, you got final rebuttal? Anything else you want to tell us? Okay. I'm going to close a public hearing on this, and I'm going to go to the board for discussion or a motion. You want to have some discussion?
Yeah, a little bit of discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, I can understand that we're a society of laws, and we have to have those certainly, but occasionally, I'm struggling with this because I think occasionally, based on the totality of the circumstances, that maybe a denial is not in order. You know, listening to the testimony that this has been an issue for 49 years, and what the gentleman is requesting, you know, his neighbors seem to support. They're very happy that that's been cleaned up, the property's been cleaned up. Sorry about the fence issue. ACHD isn't opposed to it, and quite frankly, I think the variance should be approved.
Thank you. I agree. You know, sometimes a good deal isn't such a good deal. I think you've probably learned quite a bit. At least you know how to deal with government agencies anyway. Whether that was good or bad experience, you know, that's totally a matter of perception, I think. But yeah, well, she's a good planner, so I kind of figured it would be. But
I think does a good job.
yeah, I would agree. You know, there's again the totality of everything, and based upon the testimony tonight, I would recommend that we approve the variance. But in looking at things, I'm wondering if we're going to need to table this out to do a revised findings of facts.
Mr. Chairman, that would be the right procedure to go
Okay,
through.
and do you have like a date to table it out to?
I will in just a minute.
These variances are always tough because what it comes down to, I mean, our staff is really constricted by what the law states, and their recommendations are based upon that. It falls upon our shoulders as commissioners to be able to grant variances, so.
And that brings you back so we can kind of keep up with what's going on in the hood.
Yeah,
So what is, can you explain what that means?
yeah, we'll get to that in just a second.
Mr. Chairman, it would be July 11th would be
Okay.
the next meeting.
Is that a night meeting?
That is.
So 6 PM?
It would be 6 p.m.
Okay. So I'm gonna wait for Commissioner Tibbs to make a motion, and then once we get done with that, I'll explain everything to you. Okay?
You
So
ready,
over to
Mr.
you.
Chairman?
You betcha.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve application number 201800656-V Mays Blake. This is an application for a variance based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law contained in the staff report and the testimony that we've heard tonight. And also to table this out to July 11th, 2018 to allow staff to revise the findings of fact. And that's
Okay.
it.
We good, Sherry? Okay, I'll second the motion. Any discussion on the motion?
No, sir.
All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye, 2 ayes, motion passes. Basically, what happened is we granted your variance, but we have to wait until July 11th next month, in order to get a revised findings of facts on your application so that we can officially sign it.
So can I ask a couple questions?
Yeah, come on up.
So does that mean that I come back July 11th and testify again, or is it basically over? And the only reason I ask is I'm out of town July 11th.
Yeah,
So,
As you probably saw earlier tonight, we had a case just before yours that we did the same thing. We had to table it because we needed revised findings of facts. You don't have to be here. It's just a matter of us going through and doing official, accepting the revised findings of facts. If you want to come and say hi to us, that's great.
so I'm clear the variance is granted.
Yes,
Great, okay, thank you.
as of July 11th.
Okay.
So don't be doing any hammering or anything.
No, I won't do anything till July 12th, I promise.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening.
Good luck with your home out there.
Thank you, thanks.
Okay, we're going to move on to application number 2015-00634-CU-TE, CS Property Development LLC. This is a request for a time extension. I'll open up the public hearing at 7:20 PM, and we'll first hear from staff.
Mr. Chairman, This is a time extension. The applicant is requesting a one-year time extension to finish the construction of their grinding facility, as well as the landscaping. They did get a building permit issued March 8th, 2018, and they're approximately 25% done with that building. Staff is recommending approval of this, and it would be a time extension for 1 year.
Okay, and how many time extensions have we had?
They
Is this the
have,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. They have had their administrative time extension, so this is their first board
Okay,
time extension.
okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, Jim, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, is the applicant present? Come on up, sir. If you would, you've got up to 20 minutes to present your project or your application. You don't, again, have to use it all, but that's totally up to you. I'll just need your name and address for the record, and then go ahead.
Just testing.
It's on, trust me.
Okay, thank you. My name is Vic Conrad. I work for the J.R. Simplot Company located at 1099 West Front Street, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant, CS Property Development, LLC. It doesn't seem that long ago, on June 17th, 2015, we received approval for the conditional use permit and variance for the construction of a 408,253 square foot meat processing facility, which included a truck shop and a rendering building. In addition, the facilities to support the meat processing facility, to treat wastewater discharged from the operation and to apply this water to roughly 1,200 acres of irrigated farmland had to be developed from literally sagebrush. This approval was good for 2 years. When our approval was expiring last June 2017, we were substantially complete constructing our first phase, which included the meat processing facility, truck shop, and rendering building. In addition, we were refining our plan to build the grind plant, the location of which was identified on our original site plan. Consequently, we applied for the one-year administrative extension, which was granted on June 9th, 2017. Since that time, we've virtually wrapped up construction on the first phase, and a building permit for the new grind plant was applied for and received on March 8, 2018. And we began construction the day after. So far, our underground piping is in, the building floor elevation is raised up to dock height, and the foundation with footings to support the steel structure have been placed. Currently, we are waiting on structural steel to be delivered so we can erect the building. Our steel delivery date is scheduled, currently, it's delayed and scheduled for June 25th. Our plan is to finish the 56,000 square foot grind plant and be operational November 2018. As a result, obviously, we won't be complete in time to hit our June 17th deadline when our current extension expires. And for this reason, we respectfully request the commissioners for their approval to extend our conditional use permit one last time to allow us to complete this project. Thank you, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have for me.
Okay, any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, you'll have final rebuttal if there's any additional testimony or anything that comes up.
Thank you.
So take copious notes if you need to.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you. Vic was the only one that I had signed up to testify on this. Is there anybody else in the audience who wants to testify on this application? Okay, I don't see or hear anybody. Diana, anything additional?
No, sir.
Okay, any questions, Jim?
No, sir.
Final rebuttal, sir, anything else? No, sir. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing on this at 7:20, I think it's 7:26. Over to the board for discussion or a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Commissioner Tibbs.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve 201-50063-4-CU-TECS Property Development LLC. It's a time extension application to request for approval of a one-year time extension until June 17th, 2019, for continued work on a slaughterhouse and a remediation facility.
Okay, we good? Okay. I'll second the motion. Any discussion?
I just wanted to get slaughterhouse in the motion.
Appreciate that. It's always those one words in there that we need on the record. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. 2 ayes, that motion passes. Good luck with your project out there, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, our next application before us is item 2018-00389-S. This is the Pointing Dog subdivision. I will open up the public hearing at 7:27 PM, and we will hear from staff. Brent?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, project number 2018-00389-S is a preliminary plat for a two-lot residential subdivision. The property is located on South Wrestler Lane, approximately half a mile south of Victory Road. The property is zoned RUT and contains 10.045 acres. The RUT district requires a minimum lot size of 5 acres. The lots in the subdivision will be 5.044 acres and 5.001 acres. The subject property is Lot 13, Block 1 of Stetson Estates Subdivision Number 2. And Stetson Estates Number Subdivision 2 was platted back in 2000 when the subject property was zoned rural residential, and the rural residential district required a minimum lot size of 10 acres. And so on the aerial photography, basically, Stetson Estates is basically the properties kind of along Wrestler Lane here. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted to recommend approval of this application to the board at their April 12th, 2018 public hearing, and staff finds that the application complies with Ada County Code and recommends approval to the board. And I'll now stand for any questions.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, just one question about
Commissioner Tibbs.
the private roadway. Do you have any specifications on that private roadway?
So for the private road, Commissioner Tibbs, the applicant will need, there's a condition of approval that the applicant will need to update the road users maintenance agreement. So he'll need to obviously update the road users maintenance agreement with the other property owners that take access from the private road.
And they would be able to get those big old red fire trucks down there without any problem?
Yes, so the private road is actually already existing. So
Oh, okay.
basically, the applicant would basically, for the two new lots, they would basically be having driveway approaches coming off of the private road.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Any questions? Applicant present, sir? That'd be you.
Yes.
Would you like to testify? If you would, come on up to the podium, state your name and address, and we'll give you up to 20 minutes.
Thank you. Bill Cosden, 3924 Silver Terrace, Meridian, Idaho. I appreciate all the work that Mr. Danielson's put onto this. Everything is going well. I would like approval tonight. The only issue that I have is with the city of Meridian, and they would like an easement for a planned sewer line. I don't have a problem with that. But I do not really favor the tactics, I guess, and I'm trying to word this. I just, it's either I give them the variance, or the easement, or forget it. And, I understand their job, I do. But at this point in time, we don't know when a sewer line, dry line would be put in there. It's going to be towards Linder. They're working on stuff up there. It will be developed. But the city of Meridian basically says, hey, you sign over your ground or forget it. That's what I don't really appreciate, okay? What I asked is that if I could get, you know, for the potential property owner, you know, give them a free hookup, something, you know, because they're taking 50 feet of the ground and saying that you can't do anything with it. And then once they put that line in, it goes down to 25 feet. I get it. But if it takes 5 years for them to put that line in, that's 50 feet of that property that whoever the property owner can't use. So I would like it approved. The tactics that are being used, I don't approve. I don't like it. I think I'm being strong-armed. But I'll sign it, because what other option do I have?
Yeah, we've experienced the same tactics, sir.
Yeah, so
And I say that on the record.
it's, you know, it is what it is. I get it. I fully get it, but I don't believe it's the correct thing. I am the property owner, been paying taxes on it. I thought I had private property rights. Maybe not so much. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Is, just one question for you. So apparently that is within the city of Meridian's area of impact, huh?
It is.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, not in the city limits.
Right.
Just in the impact.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for
okay.
Brent. Is there a condition of approval that is in the staff report that reflects that?
There is, Mr. Chairman. So basically I had a condition of approval that reflects, in Title IX, we have the area of impact agreement between the county and the city of Meridian. And basically one of for subdivisions in the RUT district, there is a provision in that area of impact agreement that requires, you know, basically an easement plan. And so that's where that condition comes from. And the city, they did have provide comments. I forget, I would have to look at my staff report to remember the exhibit number, but there is a letter from the city of Meridian where they do request that sewer easement along the north property line.
As part of a condition of approval.
Yes.
Okay.
You get to deal with the city of Meridian.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions? Okay, I don't have anybody else signed up to testify on this. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to testify? Okay, I don't see anything additional. Brent, from you?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, sir, you've got final rebuttal. Anything else to add?
No, and, no, I'm happy to deal with City of Meridian. I would like to kind of get this process over, actually.
Okay,
So appreciate it, thank you.
you bet. Thanks for coming in and sitting for an hour and a half
Well,
to hear
yeah,
this.
it was actually very interesting, you know, so, this county's growing so fast, and
Yeah.
you guys need to figure it out, so it was interesting.
Well, thank you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this. I will go to the board for either discussion or motion.
Mr. Chairman, maybe just a little bit of discussion. And,
Sure.
First of all, I support, the applicant, and I'm going to be making a motion to approve the application, but I just wanted to make a brief comment about the condition of approval. We try to work with the cities in their area of impact, and, if there's conditions of approval, we do our best to work with them. I will tell you, we feel your pain. We're sorry that you're having to go through that, and I really hope things get worked out. So with that in mind, Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion.
The floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve application number 201-800-389-S, Pointing Dog Subdivision, a preliminary plat for 2-lot residential subdivision to be accessed from an existing private roadway.
Based upon the findings and facts, perhaps some testimony, and
Based on the findings of fact, testimony,
I'll second that motion.
I don't know where I went with that one. I was thinking of something else.
Any discussion on the motion?
No.
All right, hearing none. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye, you have 2 ayes, motion passes. Sir, good luck with your project out there. Again, thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
That brings us to the conclusion of our agenda for tonight, so we will be in recess. Thank you all. Appreciate your hard work.
You're off the record, so.